Hello, Stephen White's for Steve Art 89. Steve Art's 89 again. Another film review. I managed to get out every week and see two movies. I saw Detective Pikachu and I saw X-Men Dark Phoenix. And I'm going to try and keep this short because the last video was supposed to be short and it ended up being 8 minutes. I'm keeping them under 10 at least. But I love talking about movies. I love talking about pop culture stuff. So I saw the preview and I thought, oh, it looks okay. I didn't really know there was any issues with the film, and then eventually the whole Jessica Lawrence ex-women controversy was happening, and I was like, oh, cringe, please don't let them please let it not just be try to be Captain Marvel, the film that Captain Marvel was promoted as being, but it really wasn't, because it was just a straight sort of action movie. It wasn't some cringy pseudo-feminist agenda movie or anything. It was just an action movie superhero who just happened to be a woman. What really wasn't the political mess that it was looking like, thanks to her PR. But Jennifer Lawrence and one of the producers kind of managed to kind of put that same sort of spin. I guess they were wanting the same sort of controversy to try and get some attention. It didn't really work because the film has pretty much bombed. And I don't think it was really deserved. I actually thought it was an okay film. I've listened to a few reviews and I can see a lot of people are saying that it was unnecessary, unwanted, bland, that it just was repetitive. It was just doing the same story again when they could have done a million other X-Men stories. And I get all that. But I watched all the X-Men films in the cinema, and I just watched them once, and I bought them on DVD, but I haven't actually watched them. Every time a new X-Men film would come out, I'd say, oh, do a marathon, watch them all before you go see it. And I never do it. So my memories are just of when I saw the films in the cinema, and I didn't really read the comics when I was a kid. So I don't have a lot of the comic book fan hang-ups that a lot of people do, where they're comparing the films to the stories, to the original stories of the comics. That's really not an issue. I've just sort of enjoyed them as action films, superhero films on their own. And I thought this one was okay. It wasn't amazing or great or anything, but I felt the story. I understood what was happening. I got the motivations of the characters. I wasn't really impressed by Sophie Turner's. Is it Sophie Turner? The main actress, who was playing Phoenix from Game of Thrones. I didn't think she was really great. She was a little weak. I mean, she was okay, but she's not a movie star. She's not someone you go to the movies to see, that you want to look at her on that screen. She was just sort of there. There's talk of her playing Boy George in the biopic of him, and that would be interesting. I can see that, because he kind of, yeah, God, I'll talk about that if it happens. But yeah, it was just a standard action hero, superhero film. There's a few things people pointed out. Some of the characters sort of didn't get the conclusions they should have, or the endings they should have, and they just sort of were there for a minute and gone. And that's fan bitching. That's sort of, if you know the material and that. But if you're just a general audience member who just saw an X-Men film because it's an action film and you thought that might be fun, you probably enjoy it. I don't think it deserved the rap that it got. I think a lot of it was just because the Disney merger and Endgame coming in, and it was shifted twice. It should have been released late last year, and then it got pushed to March, and then it got pushed to now, or maybe it was February. But it would have been much better off in the February time slot, as some people have pointed out. So that kind of hurt it, and I think a lot of people are just sort of worn out from Endgame, and they've sort of had their fix, and this just seems repetitive and unnecessary, and I kind of get that. But I do think people are being a little bit harsh on it, because like people are going on about Logan being like the idea that the Marvel films and the other X-Men films, well, the Marvel films and the X-Men films as well, they took some chances and did some different films that were kind of different. Some missed, some hit. But I don't really like Logan. I found it depressing and dark. I just don't see why they have to destroy everything. Why can't they just leave the characters in their prime, doing their thing, and we can just go off imagining that that's where they are and they're just forever in that sort of space. Which is one of the reasons why I love the original Star Trek never had an actual final, because they just kept on going, boldly going. There never was an ending, so you can just watch the series over and over again. And although it now does have an ending from Star Trek Continues. But yeah, I thought that was a bit harsh. I felt like it was okay. So I think people are being a bit harsh, and I hope it doesn't totally die. I hope it has a little bit longer legs and lasts a little bit longer and fewer people see it, because it's not a bad film. And it's not great though, I guess. I don't know. I was just sort of surprised that I got into it as much as I did, and it wasn't the mess, the shitstorm that people were saying it was going to be. So, and that's part of the problem, because the first X-Men film I didn't see in the cinema, which I effing regret. Why am I saying effing when I've been saying fuck the whole time? I regret seeing it because people said this similar things about that film as they did about this film. That it had bad effects. People were saying it had this cheap bad effects. It was so dodgy. It was like watching a straight to video thing. I'm like, what are they talking about? This is a well-produced, expensive action movie. Now, having the final scene on a train was a bit dull. Little things like that, but they were all creative choices. They weren't like things where they didn't have the money. It's not like they just stuck them on a carriage out in the middle of nowhere or something and filmed it. I mean, they've spent the money on it. But, yeah, I think people are just being harsh. And just, if you want to see it, just see it. But I was deterred from the original film because people made those sort of criticisms and said that the film was cheap and it wasn't a good adaptation of the comic, and it was just should have gone straight to video. And I didn't see it, and then I saw it on TV and it was great. And I was like, I can't believe I didn't see this in the cinema. And that's why I've seen every film since. And whenever people said bad things, negative things, I still saw the film. And 99% of the time, the critics are full of shit, or they're being harsh, or they've got an agenda, or they've got a bias. And if you just watch the film without huge expectations, you can always enjoy it and find some value. I love film. I can always find something good about the film to enjoy 99% of the time. And then you get your odd turkey. But glad I saw it, enjoyed it. Bit sad that it's ending, but there is talk of them rebooting it at Marvel, and that could be interesting because the series was kind of uneven. It gave us good and bad, but it'll be interesting to see how Marvel takes it on. So that's my little review. I probably should give out numbers or stars at some point, have some consistency, but yeah. Okay. Thanks for listening. If you have an opinion or you disagree with something, please let me know. I find it really interesting to see what other people think. I like the conversation. I love having comments. I don't get a lot, but it's always interesting to see what people say. So feel free to comment and like, subscribe. Thanks. Bye.